All right, welcome to Entry-Level Escape Complementary Tips with Dave Coughlin. These are quick tips to accelerate your complementary skill development. PowerPoint fits comfortably within the broader topic of communication. Communication is the universal complementary skill. That's why we put so much emphasis on it here at Entry-Level Escape. And so today, I'm going to teach you how to create a process and project diagram. Now, if you've taken the bigger course, Persuasion, PowerPoint, and Presentation, I refer to this as one of the four kind of archetype slides where you're going to be able to use this for all kinds of different use cases, whether you're trying to provide an overview of a project plan or design a process. I'm going to teach you the basics here today because that course is not able to do both present and screen grab at the same time. So here is a video tutorial on how to actually build that diagram. And once you learn how to do this, I promise you're going to find all kinds of cool use cases for it anytime you want to basically show process or project plans. So with that, here's our blank canvas. Now, normally there'd be a headline, but I'm going to skip that for today and just have a blank empty slide. So how do we get started? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our shaped tool and we're going to come and we're going to grab a pentagon arrow. Now these are my frequently used shapes. If you need to get the pentagon arrow by yourself, it's down here, block arrows, pentagon, okay? I'm gonna come up here, I'm gonna make one. Size doesn't really matter, okay? Height doesn't really matter, but you wanna have a good sized one. I'm gonna do a real simple 4-step process. You can do this for as few as 2, as many as maybe 6. I do not recommend going beyond 6, but anywhere between 2 and 6, you should be okay. Most commonly, I'm in like the 4-ish, like 4/4, for example, or lots of my projects have, 4 months or something to that effect. And so that's generally where I'm going to play. So what I'm going to do now, before I get any further, is I'm going to fill out the top of the page with my arrow. So you see here, I've got my pentagon arrow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Control and Shift, and that's going to allow me to clone this object and move it in a straight line. So watch as I click and drag, right? So Control Shift, click and drag. I'm going to make another one. Then I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to do it again. Now they're not nice and neatly aligned, and that's okay, because I'm going to show you how to clean that up in a second. But first, I want to make sure that they're the right shape. Now you'll notice I've got 4 pentagon arrows. That's not what I want. So I'm going to take my 3 arrows to the right because those are the subsequent arrows. And I'm going to change them into chevrons. The way you do this is you go up into your ribbon area and you click on Shape Format. Then you're going to go over here to where it says Edit Shape. Now that's in the Quick Access toolbar as well. Okay, I'm going to show you where it exists formally before we show you the easy way to do it. Edit Shape, change shape. I'm going to go down to block arrows. I'm going to go find that chevron. Boom. Okay, now they're starting to look like they flow into each other. Now you may notice that it's not particularly uniform and they're not quite as close together as I would prefer. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to get a uniform distribution. So what I'm doing is I'm highlighting all of them and I'm clicking this up here where it says distribute horizontally. Boom. Okay. They're still kind of far apart. This is where it can get a little bit fiddly diddly, right? But as you do this, you'll get faster at it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my rightmost chevron. I'm going to drag it over quite a bit. Now they're overlapping. You're thinking, oh, geez, Dave, that looks terrible. Hold on. This is going to make sense in a second. Now I'm going to select all 4 of them. And I'm going to distribute horizontally again. Okay, I can live with that. That's not bad. Now, my slide feels a bit unbalanced because my 4 arrows are off center. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab all 4 of them. I'm going to group, Control and G to group them. Then I'm going to stretch it out. So now it's roughly spanning the entire slide. Now you might be wondering to yourself, well, gee, Dave, why did you have to group it? Well, let me show you. So they're not grouped, and now I'm going to stretch them. Oh, that's not doing what I wanted it to do at all. They didn't come together. So that's why you group. So these are ungrouped. Now I'm going to group them. Control G. And I'm going to stretch them out. Perfect. Okay. Look at that. We're halfway there. Sort of. So that's simple. Simple enough. I'm going to ungroup them. You'll see why in a minute. But these are my arrows running across the top. So maybe I'll do something like Q1, Q2, right? Q3, and Q4. Okay, awesome. The next thing I'm going to do, I need to be able to fill these babies in. So you have 2 choices. First is to take a rectangle object, get it underneath your chevron. I like to drag it a little bit off so I know that they're obviously misaligned, and then use my align left up here, align left to get them to the left. It's one way to do it. The next way you can set yourself up is you can get rid of that. You can just go in here, Control, Shift, drag straight down. Now you know they're going to be left aligned. Make them touch, just like that. Okay, not bad. Then I'm going to grab that the yellow circle. Let me zoom in a little. The yellow circle. And that allows me to change the shape of my chevron. Excuse me, pentagon arrow. And I'm going to bring it all the way until it turns into a rectangle. One is not necessarily better than the other. I just wanted to show you that there's 2 ways to do it. So since I'm here, let me explain how I zoomed in, right? So if you hold down Control and you use your mouse wheel and mouse wheel up, you zoom in. Pretty cool. Down here at the bottom right, you can see this also. You can zoom in this way. It shows me I'm at 220% zoom. Okay, great. So now that we're here, we have our rectangle, we have our arrow. Now I want to make this look super aesthetic. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in quite a bit. All right, I'm at 300% zoom. I'm going to take the right side of my rectangle and I'm going to drag it and resize it so that you have this really clean, sort of uniform shape. It looks like it's one shape. Okay, and I zoom out, looks like it's one shape. We're going to keep going with this idea. I'm going to zoom out even more. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stretch this down as low as I want it to. I'm going to format it so that it behaves. So top, leftmost, maybe some bullets, and I can put something like, task 1, maybe like milestone 1. Who knows, right? Okay. Now I don't like having it all being the same color. So what I'll do is I'll make this have no fill. I'll change the font to be black, dark gray. Okay, maybe I'll shrink the font a little bit so it's smaller than the header. Maybe I'll come up here and I'll make the header a little bigger. So 20 points. Maybe I'll bold it too, just make it real big. Okay. I'm going to left align it just because that's my preference. Prefer my text to be left aligned most of the time. It's not. There's no biblical reason for that. You can keep it centered if you like. I'm going to get rid of well, let's do that in a minute. So I've got my arrows. I've got this box. This box generally looks the way I want it to look. One last thing I'll do to make it look extra nice is I'll go into line spacing options, and I'm going to go 6-point spread. So that's going to put a little spread between my bullets. Okay, makes it easier to read. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this box. I'm going to hold Control, Control, Shift. So Control and Shift, just like we did with the other arrows. I'm going to move it over. Make another one. Now you'll see it kind of snaps together, right? That red dashed line snaps together. But let's say I go too fast. Oops, I missed it. What I can do is I can click on my box, click on my arrow, use my tool, left align. Boom. Okay, look at that. Now every quarter has its own little box. Things are coming together nicely. And because I cloned my original pentagon arrow, they're all the same width. Perfect. So then the next step is just a little bit of aesthetic tidying up. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick our colors. This is a personal preference of mine. I know it's a little bit redundant. I apologize. I like to have my process diagrams get darker from left to right. I feel like that adds a little extra implied progression. So I'm going to start with the second dark teal for quarter one. I'll go with the third for quarter two. I'll go with the base color, quarter three, and I'll go with a very dark one for quarter four. There's some progression there. Again, that's a preference. I'm going to make the borders be the same color as the arrows. So this guy's border needs to be that. This guy's border needs to be the third teal. This guy's border needs to be the base teal. And then this guy's border needs to be the dark. Okay, now it's decision time. Well, actually, there's one more thing to do. I'm going to take these four guys and bring them to the front. But they cover the box underneath it. All right. Now it's decision time. You have a couple options. First is you can keep the borders on these guys and just make them tonal to match the chevron above or the block above, like this. So I'll show you. Option number one is this guy right here. We're going to just make it a tonal border. Keep it solid. That's option one. Option two is tonal border, just like this guy has, but then we're going to make it dotted. And then option three, oh, I'm not holding control, I'm holding the wrong button, is to have no border at all. And instead put a dividing line in between. I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm going to go to my tool. I'm going to go recently shaded line. I'm going to hold shift so I draw a perfectly straight line, perfectly beautiful straight line. And then I want to make sure it's perfectly in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this rectangle and this rectangle. Then I'm going to click the line. So now all three are selected. And I'm going to do over here, distribute horizontally. Okay. Now that I'm done with that, I'm going to format this line so it looks the way I want it to look. So I'll give it like a, maybe like a medium gray, nice heavy dash, something like that. So those are your options. Okay. So option one is a tonal border, but it's solid. Option two is a tonal border, but it's dashed. Option three would be this divider. Now, I think any of them can look good. So what I'll do quickly to round out the tutorial is I'll duplicate this slide 3 times so you can get a quick look at what they all look like. So here we're going to go, everybody is tonal and solid. Again, solid, but it's tonal. This guy right here will be solid tonal. This guy right here will be solid tonal. We'll get rid of that divider. So that's one of them. Okay, option two, everybody's tonal, but everybody's dotted. All right, that's not a bad idea. Let's do that real quick. Let's go with that one. Get this guy on here. Okay, get the whole thing set up. And then this guy needs to be made into a dotted line. There you go. That's not too bad. This is my favorite, for what it's worth. This is the one I use the most frequently. And then our last one's going to be the divider. So I'm going to click these two guys, which have borders. I'm going to get rid of their borders by going up here and doing no outline. Then I'm going to click this divider, and I'm going to do my favorite cloning idea. So Control Shift drag, Control Shift click and drag. And then again, I want to distribute this. So I'll find this box, distribute horizontally. Again, all I'm doing is using Control to grab multiple objects. There's option number 3. Option 3 looks great too. So my two favorite, I guess, would be option 2 and option 3. I do not like option 1. Oops, it's right here. Do not like option 1. I do not like the solid lines. I think it creates a box that's a little bit heavy and can be visually distracting. So this is my least favorite option. I'm not saying you can't use it. I'm saying you're probably going to have a better time with one of these two guys right here, option 2 or option 3. Okay. Now, this is a way to build a basic process or project plan. If you need like a super detailed version of either of these, I would advise you to get out of this. Use a different tool, Microsoft Project, Microsoft Excel, hell, even a table could potentially be very helpful for you. But for basic ones, 4 quarters, 5 quarters, that's great. You could even do very basic swim lanes if you've got, say, multiple teams. So, team 1, team 2, and team 3, you could do something like this. Or you grab onto your boxes, you can shrink that up a little bit. And then clone them, drag them down there, drag these guys down here, something like that. You might want to have a label. So what I would do is I would take the whole thing, okay, group it, pull this over a bit so you got some space. And then you could do something like this. I'm dropping a rectangle here. I want it to be the same size as these guys. Yeah, team 1. Right, so this would give you swim lanes. All I'm doing is I selected the whole thing, grouped it, and then squished it so that all of my proportions were preserved. And then I've got these swim lanes here, right? And so team 1, maybe I want to make it bold or something like that, just to make it pop. Get rid of the outline because I don't really need it there. And I don't even need to have the boxes colored in. I can do something like this. Get rid of the boxes. There you go. It's a fairly simple way to say, okay, well, team 1's going to do this, team 2's going to do that, and so on. But again, if you're getting into something that's very detailed, like you've got 4 or 5 different teams or 4 or 5 different individuals that you need to track, this is going to get unwieldy fairly fast. It's great for like executive overviews of a process, executive overviews of a plan. But for anything really detailed, I would advise you to use a more specialized piece of software. But this is one of our 4 archetypal slides. The reason why I wanted to show you how to do this live is so that you could see how when you zoom in and alter the size of the rectangle and a couple other tips and tricks in order to make this fairly straightforward for you so that you can start using them almost immediately. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. But thank you for your engagement. Thank you for trusting me with your complementary skill development. I hope that this is helpful for you with your PowerPoint pursuit. And I wish you well as you amass complementary skills so that you can start stacking impact and get those promotions. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe, turn on notifications, and also take a look at us over at Entry Level Escape so that you can stay tuned for more updates and help with your skill development. Thank you, and have a good evening.